This is Pete Moore on Halo Talks NYC. I have a friend of mine for a short 19 and a half years. Daron with me from VFP, Visual Fitness Planner. Mario is here listening in as my live audience and bear witness to whatever we talk about. You've been in the industry for a long time. You've seen it ebb and flow. You've been like one of the technology evangelists from the beginning. Probably could have checked you and me into some kind of, mental health, rehab. And it's finally to the point where it's like, oh yeah, I know what you do. That's awesome. You've been around for a while. Now I finally get what you can do, to help me run my business. So great to have you on the show, and always a pleasure talking to you.
So glad to be here. Awesome to have known you that long, and it has been a while in the industry. So glad to be here.
Yeah, awesome. So let's give our listeners just a little background on you as a person, how you got into the industry, how you and Mario connected, and then what VFP has kind of morphed into today, because I think there's a lot of legacy. As I was running a software company, I got defined as, my V1, my V2, my V3, and it was like PD Mo 1, 2, 3, and now it's like, I actually do that. So give us your background, where you're from, where you're hanging out now, and then we'll talk about the company.
Very good. Yep. Grew up in Texas and started in the health and fitness business. Actually got my start way back in the day with racquetball and fitness. Bruce Hendon, one of the pioneers in the industry.
Oh, yeah. I remember Q clubs, no?
Racquetball and fitness. And
fitness.
then,
in Spectrum. Like in San Antonio.
Yeah, absolutely.
San Antonio.
Learned a lot there. And then I actually was operating clubs in Fort Worth for a hospital healthcare system.
Okay.
And I've always had a passion for helping people change their lives, live healthier lives, fit lives, and that's actually where I ran into Mario. He was actually in charge of all the physical therapy services for the entire healthcare system there, and wow. So he came to me with a really unique idea, and I had actually just finished up the possibility of another startup, and we shelved that one, okay. And then Mario brought this idea, and we're like, wow, here's a missing ingredient, and we can take this thing and make something happen.
So, speaking on behalf of Mario here, because we weren't going to get him his own headset, and we don't want to put him under any unnecessary pressure, given our morning of meetings. Most businesses are set up because there's a frustration that's being solved, and that frustration can be solved by technology, and then you can take that and then you can basically scale that. So what was the frustration that you guys both agreed on, say like, hey, look, we gotta fix this, and not fixing it on our leisure time or like telling someone else to fix it, but like, hey, this is a company.
Yeah. There are a couple of things that were absolutely key. One is selling health and fitness has always been incredibly intangible. You actually can't see it, feel it. It's just really hard, and it's sort of like buying in on faith. And so what we did is we said, hey, we have an amazing solution where we can actually make it tangible. You can actually see the vision of the future, your future self, and the reduction of your health risks for diabetes, heart disease, stroke, and cancer. And we just made that sale tangible. Another huge issue was the total lack of professionalism in the sales process.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably second to like buying a used car. It would be like buying a health club membership back in the day.
Right? I mean, absolutely, and it's one of the reasons why all of the state governments have sort of made bonding and all that sort of stuff
Sure.
difficult, because it was just not professional at all. Yeah. And we saw a huge solution for that, and we brought that. We were the first to bring that to the industry.
There's a guy I sometimes listen to these investor relations calls, and there's some CEOs who are like so passionate about their business, and then like these financial analysts and these equity analysts, they come up and they like say like, well, your return on invested capital and your revenue per square foot this quarter was down. He stopped and he said, look, people buy with their eyes. Okay, I have to give them an experience, and they have to walk in to this was Restoration Hardware, right? The guy's like, look, I don't care what you think it should cost me to build a box or what goes in it. Like, people buy with their eyes. You've never run a business before, so don't fucking tell me like how much it costs to build this showroom that's going to do $30 million in revenue. Like, I know you don't, and I know how people feel and what makes them buy.
Yeah, and that was absolutely key in terms of us coming with this product, because we actually have, I sold memberships. I sold personal training. I was in the trenches.
Did you used to sell with like a laminate?
Absolutely.
It was like a 3-ring binder. Like it was like, woof, woof. you can have this, and it's like, well, I can have what? What do I personally get besides like hitting something on my credit card?
We absolutely had that color-coded tab, so you know which one that you were going to flip to.
Yeah. But talk about, because people probably don't even know, like the original software was to basically say, okay, here's what you look like now, almost as like an like an emoji, and here's what's going to happen if you go through, and it wasn't based on, and it's based on science, not based on some kind of graphic design, element.
Right, absolutely. We actually have several patents on our technology, and the big part of the patent and the technology is the predictive nature. So our technology takes where you are today, creates a 3D avatar, but then most importantly, based on an exercise routine, it actually predicts what the future vision of your body would look like. So
Gotcha.
that prediction is really the key to it.
So you make out the intangible tangible. You show someone like, hey, that looks like you, so now I can better visualize what I'm going to get out of it, and I do want to look like that. And if you can give me a path to get there, and then what have you layered on to the platform to make it a real like a sales management tool, and on the predictive side, and when I worked with Don back in the day in Fitness Insight, the version 2 is never done. Now we're on multiple versions. So where have you taken it, and then what's the product set look like now?
So what we've really been learning, and we've had the privilege of being in the boardroom of so many of the very best operators in the world,
right.
And what we've learned and have really angled our business to do is solve for engagement. So we have built out a complete CRM solution, sales task management, but also member engagement, because in our system we are actually gathering some of the most rich data of anybody in the industry, because we understand and know what their goals are, what their time frames are, what some of their stumbling blocks have been, what their family support structure looks like. And so the data pool that we actually have to be able to message to every single member and prospective member, frankly, is so rich because it can be so personalized and targeted to them. And then we can actually also message as they start to make improvements in their journey for health and fitness.
Why doesn't, somewhat of a rhetorical question, because I actually know the answer to this. However, I'm going to ask it anyway. Why isn't a member management system, billing system, why isn't this automatically included as like I can turn this app on and off, and like it's being built by the company that's controlling the member database? Why aren't they controlling the member engagement?
From my perspective, they have a huge challenge in and of itself with what they're doing, and the focus is on billing and management.
Yeah.
And so as an entrepreneur, to find that niche and then build that out and build out that ecosystem, we are so much more nimble. We are so much quicker, and in working with the very best and brightest, we can actually get to solutions more efficiently, faster, and more effectively than some of the big guys can. Because if they take their eye off the ball, then they're in trouble with their core business.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how like the tech stack has kind of evolved over time. I mean, I can't even remember my password to like Instagram and Facebook, so I definitely should not be running a tech stack of a health club chain. But like it's gotten to like 6 to 8 to 10 different companies that are all kind of APIing and working together and playing nicely in a sandbox. What's your vision of some of these best-in-class providers on the CRM that have gotten to an interesting level on their own to say, okay, look, we're kind of doing things that are synergistic, and maybe if we could streamline this even better, we could have a really, really interesting, dashboard that comes out that we don't have to like all be talking to them about it individually. They don't have to do eight calls on a weekly basis to know what their business is, but we'll actually, fortify it for you.
Well, we actually embarked on a journey almost 3 years ago to eliminate all of our technical debt and actually build out a system that is 100% API first. It's API forward.
What does that mean, technical debt? I never heard of that. I kind of like it.
Yeah, technical debt is basically when you build something and it's sort of your legacy technology, and maybe it didn't have automated testing embedded in it, or maybe it had a reliance on a server that was not part of your tech stack in some form or fashion, that causes you to be inefficient in your development process.
Oh, I like that. Might use it on somebody later. Like, I like everything about you, but your technical debt, man, it's too much for me.
Just too much for me.
It's too much of a liability. So as you go through and you start talking, like the industry's evolved now, where you can basically API with anybody. But it didn't start out that way, and who knows? It might, that might swing back in another direction at some point as well. So as you think about how you're positioned in this mission critical part of the tech stack, and being on the member engagement side, which is, the lifeblood, and effectively the only asset of a club is their member list. So how do you think about, one, your responsibility for that, the metrics that you feel like you can really move the needle on, and why, it's mission critical for for VFP to be part of that?
Well, we believe that so much of the messaging and communication engagement today is just primarily been focused either on the sales cycle, trying to get them into the club,
right.
And there's so much data that's out there that's not being leveraged, and it's actually not making the messaging personal to that member. And so the whole key to us is, if that member list is gold for the clubs, how do we help them ensure that the communication and the connection to that member list actually impacts retention, which goes right to our vision and our passion of changing people's lives, helping them be, fitter, healthier, live longer, better lives, so they can impact society in a really positive way.
Got it. That's awesome. So when you have a club that's on the system, how much of it is who oversees the analytics that are being provided by you, and who's taking the actions, or someone's actions being taken automatically and electronically? Some of those things are basically like an alert. How does it work?
There's a wide variety, and it really depends on the sophistication level of the club operator. So in some cases, it is alerting maybe the actual ground staff on the ground in the trenches. Hey, a prospect has come in, or hey, this member has come in, through a text message alert maybe to them, so that they know that they're in the club. Other clubs that are maybe more sophisticated are diving into our reports. Some of them even, cut and slice the data in a different way. And then we also have some amazing, through the API connections, we actually have some customers who are leveraging the data, whether it's a data warehouse or a data lake, and looking at that data in even different ways than we can provide. And then some of our clubs are very, very basic. And so they rely 100% on the data that we're delivering, the insights that we're delivering to them on a day-to-day basis to manage their club.
So what kind of results, like when someone's like, all right, tell me like the three most awesome things that have happened, whether it's metric related or, individual related?
We've had the privilege of working, like I said earlier, with some of the very best brands in the world. And so a couple of things that have absolutely been, numbers is the driving of personal training revenue and small group training. We work with a lot of our clubs as well on moving the needle for getting those brand new members engaged through the onboarding process. And that's part of our passion as well, is to impact those numbers. So not only are they impacting the financial numbers of those clubs, but also the retention, and therefore changing people's lives. So that's certainly part of it. I think the other thing that's just really been amazing for me personally is the opportunity to have built the trust with so many of these operators. I mean, you just go down the list, doesn't matter, 24-hour fitness, Good Life Fitness, Best, The Edge, UFit, Crunch, Export, Gold Gym International. You just go through this huge list of people, and to have had the opportunity to work hand in hand with them to solve for and improve their businesses is really, really exciting, and making an impact on their business.
Yeah. Well, one thing that I think I was watching CNN last night, and they were talking about like artificial intelligence and like data analytics, and they were talking about all the different software companies that are out there. And it's like somebody said, like, No, I'm working with this company because I have a relationship with like the account exec, or I have a relationship with like the data science. I think people need to realize that, when you're buying a software product, if it's off the shelf, it's like a Norton or Adobe or Gmail. Like, yeah, obviously you don't need to make a call if something happens, or they don't really need to listen to you because they're not really providing something that's mission critical to your business. They're providing a platform for you to do stuff, right, as an individual. So like when somebody works with VFP, they know that they got you on speed dial, they got Mario on speed dial. Like, this is not, a self-serve forever. And, once we get the sale, like, see you later, bye.
I think that's one of the things that makes us, stand out in the industry, and it's why we've been around. This is my 25th IRSA, right? This is why we've been around and stand out for a long time, because we actually take it so personally, the success, and to give great solutions to our customers that if something's not exactly the way it needs to be, we're losing sleep until it's right. And we've built a culture within our company that's the way that we treat our customers. We're partners, and we are grinding it out every day to make their business better.
Yeah. No, I used to work at a firm, and it was the culture was a little toxic. They'd be like, "Oh, that client sucks," and I'm like, well, you can't ever talk like that. Like, you're here to like help that client, do this deal. This was back when I was like at a big firm in the 90s. And I was like, that was weird, man. Like, you can't be, that's like the only thing that matters is the client, right? Nobody else is paying us.
And that's right.
So,
that's like who we work for.
Yeah, like I'm supporting this, or I'm advising this person, or I'm just like, I gotta get out of here. So what are some of the Daron Allen isms that people, over the years, you come up with like your little quotes, or you got management style, or there's something, somebody that you quote often, or a phrase that that pays. What do you got in your holster that you like to say?
Well, everybody knows one of the things I often say is gofaster.com. And so it's actually a Daronism. And it's so funny thing, like going way back in the day, one of our great people on the team is Amy Simpson, and she actually won the IRSA Fitness Director of the Year award way back in '99. Anyway, when we had our club, we actually had a newsletter, and funny that you said Daronism, because we actually had a section called Daronisms in the newsletter. But gofaster.com is definitely one of those things. And then I absolutely am a raving fan of John Wooden. And so his entire success pyramid and his definition of what success is, we've actually taken our entire company through that entire pyramid.
Awesome.
And everybody knows that success is really, it's a determination of doing the very best of which you are capable of doing. And if you give that every day, then you're going to change somebody's life and make the company better as well.
Yeah, it's amazing. Don Hoskins and I, ran a software company back in the day when you and I met, on AOL dial-up. And this is some of the things you learn over time. But I just remember saying to him, like, he was like talking, okay, we got like a new version launched. And he's on the phone, like, he's telling people about the next version of like what else we're at. And I'm like, dude, can you do me a favor? Let the paint dry on this version, and can we just sell this one? Like, it's dry, and man, it's like a constant like mural. It's wet, it's not ready yet, and it's like, it can't be sold until like we have these extra bells and whistles. So you've gone through a lot of different versions and gotten to a point where like, look, we understand your business from the ground up. Like, you guys are built, this came out of you're having a frustration, and it's evolved into, 20 plus years of helping people and, making sure member engagement, which people have been talking about for a while, and, retention, but now it's finally to the point where you can actually do it, and technology's there, and you guys are on the front end of that. So.
Absolutely. And to be honest with you, it's interesting, when you talk about Don and saying, hey, what's coming next? Well, in today's world, we call that the roadmap, right? And so in our roadmap, here's what's coming. But your customers, they actually want to know that. And I think one of the things that separates VFP, and we're actually going by VFP Next now, because it's that next thing.
Thanks for the heads up on that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Maybe before the podcast, you could have told me that, dude. VFP next.
Is that we are not building our roadmap, and we're not driven by only our vision and what we see. We're actually most highly informed from our customers and the solutions that they're looking for and the pain that they need solved. And so that relationship with those customers to inform that roadmap and take us where we're going next is absolutely key. And it's a differentiator for us, because I think some companies say, oh, here's this problem. Here's how we're gonna solve it.
Right.
And they are not in the trenches. They haven't actually been there with the operators and really understood that. And I think that separates us.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting how like your brain gets kind of rewired into like the industry that you're in, and you know, people come in to us with new ideas all the time. They say, I want to do this class pass type of thing, but it's like it tax like dynamic pricing and unlimited memberships. And I'll talk to the guy and so what have you been doing the last couple of years? Like, I was working in like management consulting. I'm like, like that might be a good idea, but you have no basis for even understanding how this works. Like, why don't you come back? Why don't you go work in a gym or go work in a club? Go spend a year there, then rewrite your idea based on how it actually works, and then come back and tell me what the frustration is. Like, you don't even know if there's a frustration you're solving. You're just like tying like 3 buzzwords together.
That's right. That's funny, because I was thinking about maybe a couple of pieces of advice I might give to somebody, or a new entrepreneur startup or something like that. And one of them is, don't build something that competes with me. That'd be the first one, right? Yeah. Actually, in all seriousness, the second one is what you just said. You have to understand this industry, and you have to have a basis for what you're doing. Otherwise, you'll flame out. You'll do something that's just not relevant.
Yeah. So as the industry grows, and as you think about all the different, roadmap, areas that you can go down, the one interesting thing I think is going to happen over time is like when people start to understand, like, hey, technology is running my business. And when I was running around, I'd be like, oh, it's $50 a month per club, or $100 a month, or if I get over 300, like I got to bring like a Kleenex box with me because someone's getting a bloody nose. I'm like, how can I pay $300 a month for you to manage all of my digital? It's like, that's it, it's $300 a month, right? So how do you think about like the evolution of what people are going to be willing to pay when basically like this tech stack that's going to be, maybe there'll be 3 best-in-class companies that, aggregate a number of these different best-in-class apps, say like, okay, look, it's $5,000 a month, or it might be $10,000 a month. I don't know what the right answer is, but we're going to be taking so much of the infrastructure and cost down, and there's going to be data analytics and prediction. And, how do you think about that? Because I know you, me, Mario, Don, we've all been beaten up, being like, $99 a month. Like, can I go any lower than that? It's like I can't even get like a salmon and a side dish for this, but I'm going to run your whole business. So, how do you think about the evolution of pricing and about the mission criticalization of like what you've done?
So absolutely, we've all been beat up, right? And I think that so many times there's just not an understanding of the sunk development cost that is ongoing every single month, the cost of API integration, all that sort of stuff. But I think that it's going to really be focused on the value that is delivered to that club, and to your point, the cutting out of some of the cost. Technology can save so much time, and that's some of the things that we're seeing in one of our niche products that we actually have is our challenge platform. But the amount of time that it saves, and all of the spreadsheets and all the paper and all the printing and all that sort of stuff, we have to do a better job of conveying that cost savings, that time savings. And I don't know exactly what that price point is going to be. I think there's going to also be a stratified pricing model, because there's going to be a PS, professional services aspect to this for certain customers. You're going to have enterprise, you're going to have more studio, smaller footprints, and so I think it'll be all over the board. But I think that the value and the cost savings, to your point, is incredibly significant. And then when you automate so much of that analysis, that reporting, and then you give them insights to quickly, very quickly move the needle on their business, they're going to be willing to invest in that. For sure.
I wonder if just for this probably should be on our to-do list after this, but to think about, should there be a percentage of this business that's made up of SaaS revenue but does it benefit us to say, hey, look, it's $1 per tour, or it's $1 per member per month, to make sure like we're aligned with them on like, look, I want to keep your members, so I'm comfortable using that, but I just can't give you I can't give you everything forever for like $300 a month. Like at some point, the economics don't make sense for you as a business, even though the value of SaaS companies is what it is, and it'll continue to be because of the stickiness of it. But like at some point, you got to say, all right, like I'm Kayak, or I'm charging you. I got to charge you on a per use basis at some point. I don't know if we've gone like too far away from that where we can't bring it back, but that's how you get something. I get something. You're getting paid a membership. Give me some of that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if your goals are absolutely aligned with the operator, I think that there could be an appetite for that, if the value is being delivered in there. And I think that there's absolutely interesting ways to get that buy-in and have that goal alignment with the customer.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure talking to you live on the mic. Hopefully Noah's got the cassette tape in there and recorded all this. And we have Mario in the studio here, so that was helpful. So to gofaster.com to see where you guys have been to where we're going. It's exciting. You walk around here now as a tech, action and thought leader, instead of being like the crazy guys that, hopefully they're coming back next year, and so I can learn about like what new iteration they have. But now it's like everyone's finally caught up, so it's got to be a much healthier feeling.
Absolutely.
Being around. And, we look forward to helping with your guys' growth, and we're going to work on Plan A. It was all about Plan A, version 1, 2.0. Make it work.
Sounds great,
This
man.
has been Pete Moore on Halo Talks with the VFP. Next.